Testing. One, two. Okay. We're ready to go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cool Beans Hot Stuff. Today is Wildlife Wednesdays on this channel. Every Wednesday, we go over some sort of wildlife, nature orientated kind of stream. And today, we're going to be going over the seven natural wonders of the world. And that's very important because today I woke up on time today, and usually I stream at around 11 a.m. But today, obviously, we're streaming at 12 p.m. today because I got up today, and long story short, I set up my streams the night before, get everything ready to go. Last night, I must have been super tired because I set everything up, and then my computer had an update. I clicked it, went to bed, came down here today to do my meditation, get all like goose frobbing, shit in my zone, and go over my web pages again. And obviously, my computer restarted last night and shut down my Restream, my OBS, and all these web pages and everything I had set up. So I had to spend my morning resetting that up. Didn't even get to my meditation. So I'm totally not goose frobba right now. But it's no big deal. It is what it is. But then while I was putting all this together, I realized that the fucking thumbnail that I made for this like 2 weeks ago doesn't say the seven natural wonders of the world. It says the seven wonders of the natural world. So, and that's not a thing. So, but it is what it is. I'm committing to it. I did it. It's done. Boom. So today we're going to be talking about the seven wonders of the natural world. All right. So I didn't actually know. I thought of this idea to do the stream because I've always heard of the seven natural wonders or the seven wonders of the world and all that shit. It's mostly from King Kong. Any version of King Kong, the 1930s version, the remake, the, I always think Michael Jackson, and then I'm like, no, his name isn't Michael Jackson. I think, well, it can't be Janet Jackson. Peter Jackson, that's it. Fuck. Peter Jackson, right? That guy. So Peter Jackson's variation, his remake of King Kong, and all of them, they always introduce King Kong as the eighth wonder of the world, you know? And I'm always like, well, what the fuck are the other seven, right? I don't know. So I thought, well, I ought to find out, right? Because they're probably a big deal. King Kong's a pretty big deal. He's a big giant ass monkey. So the seven wonders must be pretty fucking cool too, right? So I thought of this stream. I was like, well, let's do this. So while I was doing some research, some like preliminary deep dives into this stuff, so I at least like understood what we're going to be talking about, have a structure for the stream and all that, I discovered off the back that there's more than just one seven wonders, which is kind of interesting. I didn't know that. So we'll start right here with the stream, sevenwonders.org. Here's all the different seven wonders they have. They have the new seven wonders. And they have the seven natural wonders, not the seven wonders of the natural world. They have the seven man-made wonders, the seven underwater wonders, the seven Middle Ages wonders, the seven civil engineering wonders. That's a mouthful. That's a tongue twister. And then the seven ancient wonders of the world. So that's pretty fucking cool. I saw that. I was like, wow, that's neat. That's like enough material for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 streams. 7 streams. Good goodness. If it was any higher, I wouldn't have been able to count it. And then they have wonders and all the different continents and all of that. So it's pretty fucking dope. I didn't know that was even a thing. So unfortunately, I wanted to point this out and link this, let you know that I'm going to be linking this in the description. Tonight, I'm going to be printing off all the last 3 days of streams that I've done into YouTube videos. So you guys can, have it there. And in the description of all the YouTube videos, I will be linking all of the web pages that we go over today, right? So wanted to do that for you. Wanted to let you know that because I'm only 2 days away from ending my Wildlife Wednesday streams. It's kind of a bummer, I know. Not really, because nobody really watches the Wednesday streams a whole lot. People just aren't interested in animals and like plants and shit, turns out. And so I was gonna flip it out for Wednesdays. I'm gonna be learning about politics. Basically, I'm gonna be throwing up a 2 hour stream where I research some political topic that's happening in the world right now. Mostly because I don't know shit about it. Not really because I'm super interested in politics, but just because I don't know anything about politics. So I thought it would be fun, entertaining to spend my Wednesdays researching something about politics. But today, in the meantime, for these last 3 days, we're going to be learning about nature, right? And if I really suck at politics, as it turns out, if I'm a real bummer when it comes to that, then I'll switch back to talking about like cute little animals and shit. But in the meantime, for these next 3 weeks, we're just going to cover the 7 wonders of the natural world. So that's what we're going to do today. And since there's a good chance I'm not going to be able to hit these up in a stream, you are, Cutie Pie. You're the first wonder of the natural world. Yeah, no, me too. I need to learn a little bit more about politics, so it'll be helpful to actually. It's something that I need to learn more about. It's always good to learn about the natural world. It's always good to learn about all the cool shit in the world. It's fun, but you know, politics is kind of important. It's kind of important to know what's going on in the world. Who's blowing who up and why they're doing it. Kind of a big important thing to know. So I'm going to be doing that. So in any case, if I really suck at it, if I really suck at it, then, we'll go back to talking about cute little fuzzy animals and shit. But for today, we're going to be talking about these 7 natural wonders of the world. And since I'm not going to be hitting up any of these other lists anytime soon, wanted to point this out to you that this will be on the description in the video. So if you're watching this on YouTube after the stream is done, make sure you check out the description, the link in the description, so you can read about all the other lists of 7 wonders, because I did breeze through them, and they are pretty cool lists of obviously really beautiful and amazing shit, right? Wonderful shit, hence the 7 wonders, right? So I wanted to let you know that. Anyways, to anybody who's watching live, thanks for tuning in. I always appreciate it. And whether you're on Twitch or YouTube, and to anybody who's watching this video on YouTube, the resulting video, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the stream. I hope you learned something cool. And if so, please leave the video a like and subscribe. So that's my little spiel there. Let's go ahead and dive into the 7 natural wonders, what you're here for, yeah? So here's our list of the 7 wonders. And we're going to be starting with the Aurora Borealis. That's the numero uno on the list, right? The Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis. Everybody's heard of it. I've heard of it. I'm pretty sure most people have heard of it. We know what it is. But do we really know what it is? Do you know what it is? Or do you just think it's a bunch of really fucking pretty lights in the sky? Because that's what I thought it was. I was like, oh, it's just like some really pretty shit that just kind of, up there in Alaska or whatever. Turns out there's actually a science behind it. Who would have fucking thunk it, right? So let's go over to NASA. Pop over here. NASA, there's some pretty smart people that work over at that place, I've been told. We're going to have them explain to us what exactly the Aurora Borealis is. So let's go ahead and do that. The sun rays burning in the atmosphere, huh? Well, it could be. To be honest, I don't know. Well, you could be wrong. I mean, I don't know. Do you work for NASA? How much do you know about these kinds of things? I don't know what they are. So that's a better guess than me, Cutie Pie. All right. So I'm not giving you any guff over here. That's the best I got. Sun rays burning in the atmosphere sounds good to me. That's pretty fucking scientific. Sounds legit. So let's see if Cutie Pie is right. NASA will tell us. They know about these sort of things. Let's pop this up. Okay, check it out.
On Arctic nights, the aurora often flames across the winter sky. What is it, and where does it come from? This is where the tale of the aurora starts. On the Sun, a star of average size among billions of other stars in our Milky Way.
Ooh, you could be right, Cutie Pie. Starts on the Sun. So far, you're 100 for 100. 1 and 1.
The Sun acts as an enormous power plant. The energy is created deep inside the core of the Sun. Here, the temperature is over 14 million degrees, and the pressure so enormous that hydrogen atoms are squeezed together into another element, helium. This nuclear reaction releases energy. The light radiates outward from the core of the sun. In the outer layers, the heat moves to the surface in huge eddies called convection cells. These electrical currents of charged gas create magnetic fields inside the sun. In some places, strong magnetic fields push their way up through the surface. They slow down the eddies of hot gas. The surface cools, and darker sunspots appear. The electrically charged gas is called plasma. The plasma drags the magnetic field further outwards. The magnetic field stretches and twists like a rubber band, and then the rubber band breaks. Several billion tons of plasma is hurled out from the sun. This is called a solar storm. The solar storm can reach speeds over 8 million kilometers an hour. After 6 hours, it blows past the planet Mercury. After 12 hours, the planet Venus. After 18 hours, the solar storm reaches Earth. When the solar storm reaches our planet, something strange happens. An invisible shield, the Earth's magnetic field, deflects the storm. The magnetic fields couple together and create a funnel where the gas streams down on the daylight side of the pole. This is the daylight aurora. The magnetic fields stretch further back and couple together. The magnetic rubber band breaks, and gas from the solar storm streams along the magnetic lines towards the poles on the night side. This is the nighttime aurora.
Jesus, that is complicated. I was not expecting that. Cutie Pie, I think we're just going to stick with sun rays. That was way more crazy than I thought. That's pretty cool, though. Holy shit. That blows my mind. So it's like magnetic solar storms is what it is. But that is wild. Who the fuck thought that was how that works? Like, who did the fucking math? Yeah, it is a really cool video. I wouldn't have understand anything this dude is saying without the pictures, right? Like, this is one of those instances where I need detailed photography on this. Like, I need you to explain this with like colored crayons to like a 5-year-old, otherwise I'm not going to get this, but it is a good video. I totally understand it now. I couldn't explain it to anybody. Like, if somebody asked me, I'd be like, just ask NASA, bro. They know what's up. But it is cool. Totally get it. That's neat. And of course, that is really pretty. Oh, wow. All right. So, in a nutshell, yeah, let's pop over here. Well, so in conclusion, you were kind of right. Yeah, I mean, it is, I don't think it's rays off the sun, but, how I'm thinking it, right? It's like when the sun is feeling really gassy, right? Just ate a lot of beans and just lets out a big solar fart. that flies through space in a big old fart cloud and then hits Earth. And we have a magical fart cloud protector. And so the sun's fart hits the Earth, wraps around it, and then there's a whole thing with the little bands. Some reason they go back to Earth. I'm still entirely sure how that works. But here on Earth, when the sun farts, it's really pretty. So that's my explanation. I think that's a pretty valid way to discuss it, right? So there you go. That's what the Aurora Borealis is. It's a big old fucking sun fart. Anyways, so this article that we have right here gives us another detailed explanation on it. Same thing. It goes over the exact same thing. I think that video, this isn't the same video, but you can see it's discussing the exact same thing here, right? The fart coming back to hit the Earth. Yeah. That's so crazy. And then making a big, beautiful gas cloud right above the sky. So I'll link this in the description. It goes into the detailed, like, electrons and protons. Shitballs. I didn't mean to do that. Electrons and protons slam into the Earth's upper atmosphere at speeds of up to 45 million miles per hour. Oh, that's intense. Geez, so it gets a little bit, different gases and altitudes produce different colors. Oh, see, that's really cool. So green, when you see green borealis, it's oxygen about 60 to 190 miles up above us, altitude. Red is oxygen higher than 150 miles above us. And then blue and purple northern lights are mostly nitrogen at lower altitude. So that's when the sun is feeling particularly gassy. That's one of them stinky farts. So anyways, yeah, a lot of information to add to it going through this. I heard Nashville, Tennessee. Oh, okay. Billy, a dude from Nashville, Tennessee, talking to space.com. All right. Anyways, goes into like the atoms in the shit of it. We got a whole thing here. So there's the sun, the solar wind. It's just a fancy term for our big old sun fart flying through the air. And we got the bow shock, the magneto sheath. That's pretty sweet. Getting into some like fucking X-Men shit here. The auroral oval. So they got all kind of technical terms for this that make it more difficult to understand. You can see electrons and ions pouring back into the Earth along the polar cusp. Really high-tech stuff here, right? I feel pretty fucking smart just reading that. Anyways, a little bit of extra information that's a little bit more in the weeds, right? If you're on my level and you understand this is a sun fart, this is probably a little bit much for you. I'm going to go ahead and say that. But, here's a little bit of extra kind of cool information about the Northern Lights, okay? The Northern Lights are happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I didn't know that. I didn't know that this is constantly happening. I thought this was like, once every couple of months, right? Like after the sun's had a really big meal. But apparently it's 24/7 all the time. Kind of cool. So the top destinations, there's places in the world, obviously, where you can't see it because those ions and what was it? Protons or neutrons, whatever one. It was one of the things. We're going to, hold on. So I'm scientific. Electrons, the only one I didn't say. Excuse me all to hell. So electrons and ions come back on the poles of the planet, hit the poles, and obviously it's going to be the places closest to the poles that are still inhabitable that you're going to be able to see the Aurora Borealis, right? So I don't know how to say this, but Norway, someplace in Norway that has a funky little O in it, that place is a good place to watch it. Fairbanks, Alaska. I've been to Fairbanks, Alaska. How close did you grow up to Fairbanks, cutie pie? How far away were you from that? Yellowknife, Canada. Abisko, Sweden. And, another really hard. Okay, let's try. It's Reykjavik, Iceland. Oh, wow. You're only an hour away from Fairbanks, huh? I'm pretty sure I've been to Fairbanks. When we were doing the Alaskan cryptids video I looked up where Fairbanks was, and I think, oh no, it wasn't Fairbanks. Sorry, it was Anchorage and Juneau. That's where I've been to. Anchorage, Alaska, and Juneau, Alaska. Never been to Fairbanks. Fairbanks is kind of in there, isn't it? That's kind of like tucked away in like inland Alaska, nowhere near the shore, right? Or maybe I'm fucking that up. In any case, you were close. So did you saw the Northern Lights pretty regularly? Yeah, was that a pretty regular thing where you were at the Northern Lights? Oh, they held the state fair in Fairbanks, huh? Oh, that's pretty cool. No, not for you. You didn't see the Northern Lights. That's kind of a bummer. Okay. Well, Fairbanks, Alaska is the best place to see it. They actually used to in Wyoming. They hold the state fair in the town I grew up in Douglas, Wyoming, of all places. They have Cheyenne and Casper, which are like, and then which are infinitely bigger places than Douglas. And then they have Jackson Hole, obviously, which is like where all the millionaires live. But they were like, nope, we're going to do the state fair in this little shit fuck trailer park town, and people are going to love it. And they do. But, anyways, I bet Alaskan State Fair is pretty cool. We need to check out. We need to check out the state fair here in Tennessee whenever that happens, because I bet that's a lot of fun. My parents took me to the state fair in Oklahoma, and that was a blast. Oh, that's crazy that you say that. Yeah. So, if anybody who sees this on YouTube, if you haven't checked out my previous stream on Alaskan cryptids, I talk about giants in Alaska. People you discovered very loosely, we're not entirely sure, but people have claimed to have discovered the skeletons of 12, 13-foot giants, of people 12, 13 feet tall in Alaska. And while we were talking about that, I had to pull up an article just to show how big the vegetables are in Alaska. Because, yeah, they grow fucking massive. Cutie Pie isn't joking to you. She's telling you the truth. They had beets that were like this, like the size of your fucking head. It was insane. Like, you could kill somebody with that beet. You could beat somebody to death with a beet. It was crazy. They're huge. And then the pumpkins, and they had cabbages. Like, the cabbages were like a small toddler. Like, thank God they don't have any carnivorous plants up there. They just swallow your fucking baby. Yeah, a cabbage can grow as huge as a truck. She's not joking. They're fucking huge. Like, I don't know what is up there in that soil, man, but yeah, they can grow some massive vegetables in Alaska. That's crazy you bring that up, Cutie Pie, because I was literally just talking about that last week on my Alaskan cryptids video. So anybody who's watching this, go check out that video, and I'll show you some fucking crazy pictures of some fucking truck-sized cabbages. That's no joke. It's because during the summer, Alaska gets like 20 hours of sun a day. Oh, well, I guess that makes sense. No shit. Yeah, you're kind of limited on how much sun you can get down here in the rest of the states, but in Alaska, 20 hours of sun. That's pretty crazy. I thought it was like maybe like the soil up there, like because the soil hasn't been used as much as it is down in the mainland, but the sun thing is probably more legit. I mean, you're pretty much right on what the Aurora Borealis was, right? I mean, I still feel like sun farts is a little bit better explanation, but you were close. Sun rays, So I don't know. You're about half a fucking scientist. I'll go with you. I'll defer to you on that one. 20 hours of sun is why cabbages get as big as trucks. That's so crazy. But so yeah, go check out that stream and you can see some big ass cabbages and some big fat ass radishes and all kinds of crazy shit. So this article also has some tips on how to see the aurora. Assuming you're in any of these places where, it's best to see the aurora. There is other places. If we look down here, are there northern lights on another planet? That's not what we wanted. What causes it? I didn't lie to you. It's down here somewhere. History of the northern lights, photographs in the northern lights. Okay, I might have lied to you. Oh, I did lie to you. It's on this page right here. Where to see the northern lights in 2025. I wasn't going to go over this. I'll just link it in the description to anybody who's interested. This is all the different places you can go. And they go, they break it down by place, like in Norway, and then even break down the actual company you can go to that'll give you like the best, I don't know, sightseeing experience, right? So the Northern Lights Company in Sweden, Lights over Lapland. Guide to Iceland, Arctic Adventures, Alaskan Tours, the Churchill Arctic Adventures. There's all kinds of places that specialize in just taking people out to go see the Northern Lights, right? So, when to see the Northern Lights, Northern Light forecasts, fuckballs. I'm pretty sure it said, those are the best places to see the Northern Lights. I know that. I read through this last night. And but you can occasionally see them in other places. Oh, look at that. It was Galileo who coined the name Aurora Borealis in 1619. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Very interesting. After the Roman goddess of dawn, Aurora, and the Greek god of north wind, Boreas. The earliest suspected record of the Northern Lights is in a 30,000-year-old cave painting in France. Wow. That's pretty interesting too. So Aurora Borealis is named after the goddess of dawn and the god of north wind. Aurora, I didn't know that that's what Aurora stood for. That's pretty crazy. I used to live in Aurora, Colorado. And there, we never talked about no goddesses. Aurora was only known for the place where people get shot a lot in Denver. So that reminds you of Bohemian Rhapsody? Oh, yeah. Wow, that's a good song. I haven't thought of that in forever. Galileo. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good song, Cutie Pie. You would think of that though. Like you don't even need you get one word that's from a song and you start singing the whole thing. So you got me on that shit now. I've been doing that on my last streams where I'll read something and it's the lyric of a song and I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta sing the chorus now. So I'm picking up your bad habits. Thankfully, your bad habits aren't that bad. They're kind of cute, so works in our favor. And so yeah, there's some interesting info. What is Steve? Hold on, we got to find out what Steve is. I'm interested now. I used to have a friend when I worked in a recording studio. This friend of mine, well, his name was Steve. And in recording studios, when you're an intern, everybody has to have a nickname, right? Interns get nicknames. My nickname was Tony Two Cigs because I was a heavy smoker. Back in those days, I would like smoke a cigarette, then light my cigarette with my cigarette. And they called me Tony Two Cigs because I could smoke two cigarettes in the time it took a normal person to smoke one cigarette. So I got Tony Two Cigs. I worked with another kid named Luke Walker. So, of course, little fucker got the best name. His name was Luke Skywalker. Yeah, lucky bastard. And then we had Steve, who was from Wisconsin and was super monotone. Just anytime he talked, it was like this. There was no emotion in his voice. So his nickname was Steve. We just call him Steve. Be like, hey, where's Steve? Like, I don't know. He's somewhere. So another aurora-like occurrence on Earth is Steve. The strong thermal emission velocity enhancements. Oh, okay. Like the northern and southern lights, Steve is a glowing atmospheric phenomenon, but it looks slightly different from its undulating auroral counterparts. These emissions appear as a narrow and distinct arc, are typically purple in color, and often include a green picket fence structure that slowly moves westward. I'm assuming that's the picket fence structure? Okay, if they say so. Steve is also is visible from lower altitudes, closer to the equator than the auroras. Oh, wow, look at that. 2019 study published in Geophysical Research Letters discovered that Steve is the result of two mechanisms. The mauve streaks are caused by mauve. Mauve? That's a color, right? Mauve. Anyways, mauve streaks are caused by the heating of charged particles in the upper atmosphere, while the picket fence structure results from electrons falling into the atmosphere. The latter process is the same driver of the aurora, making Steve a special kind of aurora hybrid. Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that was a thing. Well, there you go. See, I told you, y'all are learning something new here. I'm learning it with you. That's pretty fucking wicked. So, yeah, I could totally see this totally deserves, right, the number ones, at least on the list of the 7 natural wonders of the world. And there's a whole bunch of extra little fun tips and shit in this article. So I'm going to link it in the description for you so you can check it out. This too, where to see the Northern Lights in 2025. I'll definitely link this too because this gives you all the best spots and some really pretty pictures. I think that's actually an advertisement, but really, really pretty advertisements and some more videos on just how beautiful it is, right? That's pretty crazy. Look at that. That kind of like purple and then green streaks. Really beautiful. That's fucking sick. I don't know if I'd go all the way to Iceland to see that shit because that just looks cold. Look at that. That just looks freezing. That's beautiful. That looks like something made by AI. You know, it could be nowadays. You never know. But God, that just looks fucking cold. You know, you just put the word Iceland in there and it automatically makes whatever you're looking at seem really fucking cold. But that is beautiful. That is so fucking cool. That's some alien planet type shit. That's wild, man. So, and then let's see. This is the Auroralis in Alaska. This is where Cutie Pie grew up right here. This is her first home. And God, that is beautiful. That's so cool. Like, I would go back to Alaska in a heartbeat. Would you ever go back to Alaska, Cutie Pie? Would you ever go back there just to visit on vacation or something like that? I would. I don't know if I'd go like deep, like as far as Fairbanks, but I would definitely go back to Alaska to check it out. And this is the Aurora Borealis from your home. You would? Yeah. We might have to plan that trip one day because that would be really cool. I'd love to go back to Alaska. I only got to see it that one time. So Evan Boyce captured this stunning aurora above the coast of Northern Ireland. Okay, so you can see it in Ireland. Oh, well, yeah, of course, you got friends in Alaska, obviously. That would be fucking sick. How long since I was just going to ask that? Since high school. Yeah, see, that's why I don't want to. 90% of the people I grew up with in high school, I wouldn't want to see them again. But there's a handful. There's a handful that I would legitimately love to see them again and see how they're doing. I would love to see that they were uber successful and meet their kids and all of that, you know, like, so I get you. I get it. That would be cool to go see your friends. It's been a long time since you talked to them. So we got to plan that trip one day. That would be really cool. So, anyways, and then go see the Northern Lights while we're there, since they're so close to Fairbanks, anyways. So, anyways, I'm going to link this in the description too. And then this as well. This is the Aurora Forecast. This is a pretty cool website. This is for Alaska, but I believe you can go to home and click the Aurora Forecast for any part of the world, and it'll tell you, give you this little green streak on where you're going to see it, right? And it'll give you the actual coordinates and then times, all the whole 9 yards. So you got it on a daily basis over here, an hourly basis almost, 3-day forecast, right? For when the Aurora Borealis is going to be visible in pretty much any part of the world. So this is a really useful resource if you're, really interested in the aurora and you really want to see those northern lights, man. Definitely click on this link and check it out. So we are going to move to our next natural wonder, or our next wonder of the natural world, the Grand Canyon. That's number 2, which surprised me. I didn't even realize that. That was, I envisioned the 7 natural wonders, and I was thinking, I don't really know what I was thinking, right? I was thinking on terms of giant ass monkeys. That's what I was thinking. Turns out Grand Canyon's on there. So I have technically seen one, at least, of the 7 natural wonders. So, look at me. I'm all cultured and shit. The Grand Canyon. Okay. So we're going to read a little bit of this article because it's a long fucking article, right? And Grand Canyons are dope, but at the end of the day, they are just, it is just a big ass canyon, right? And so we are going to read about it. There is some interesting stuff here, but I'm not going to give you the whole article. We're going to read about it and then give you some resources to look into it a little bit more. And then we're going to move on to some of the other stuff. Call me biased, but I've already been to the Grand Canyon. I've seen it. It's very beautiful. I ate a ham and cheese sandwich like somewhere in this area, probably. I'm pretty sure it was like right there. Pretty positive. So, but yeah, went to the Grand Canyon, ate a ham and cheese sandwich, was like, oh, this is sweet. And then went back home. It was fun though. It was cool. So anyways, Teddy Roosevelt called the Grand Canyon one of the great sights that every American should see. And 100 years ago, on February 26, 1919, Congress underscored Roosevelt's travel recommendation by designating Arizona Canyon a national park. Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt was the man. He was a boss. He was a G. He legitimately cared about nature and animals and shit like that, and did some of the biggest moves in the biggest moves in the history of our country to conserve as much of the lands and wildlife as he possibly could, which is one of the many reasons he's on the Mount Rushmore. because he was a badass like that. The dude was also a fucking studly stud. I don't know if you've ever read about Teddy Roosevelt, but motherfucker was a badass. Like, you would not want to fist fight this dude because he, as the president of the U.S., he would do daily wrestling practices in the White House with like people in the White House. Like, so the dude took like boxing and wrestling very seriously. He was a bad motherfucker, Mr. Teddy there. So, but anyways, back to the canyon. The history of the 277-mile-long canyon runs much deeper. Humans first encountered it some 12,000 years ago, as the earliest Americans spread across the continent. By the 16th century, a few Spanish explorers began passing through. And in May 1869, the one-armed Civil War veteran John Wesley Powell, future head of the U.S. Geological Survey, led 9 men on an unprecedented boating expedition down the Colorado River. His report from that trip and a second 2 years later helped cement the Grand Canyon's reputation as a national icon and a natural wonder. Today, the Grand Canyon hosts 6 million visitors a year. That's a lot of ham sandwiches, making it the second most visited U.S. national park after the much more accessible Great Smoky Mountains. Tourists flock to the marvel at the Grand Canyon's jaw-dropping immensity and the sheer spectacle of how the Colorado River carved through layer after layer of rock to expose an ombre of reds, browns, pinks, purples, and more. With 2019 marking the centennial of the national park and the 150th anniversary of Powell's first expeditions, it's a good time to look back both and forward, says Carl Karlstrom. Carl Karlstrom. Oh, that's so funny. I love it when parents do that to their children. I grew up with a kid named Steven Stevenson. I thought that was great. I was like, dude, your parents got a hell of a sense of humor. Steven Stevenson. All right. This is written in 2019, though. So that was the 150th anniversary. So it's a ways past. But okay, so let's learn a little bit about geology. Yeah, a little bit of the history of the geology. So, okay. The Grand Canyon story began nearly 2 billion years ago when two plates of Earth's crust collided. As they came together, rows of volcanic islands smashed together and merged. Under extreme heat and pressure, their rocks transformed into the dark-colored basement rocks seen near the bottom of the canyon today, including 1.84 billion-year-old rocks called the Elves Chasm Ness, the oldest known in the canyon. Ooh, so what do those rocks look like? That's the dark rocks at the bottom of the cliffs. Okay, I'm not being sold on that picture. So it's like these guys down here, huh? These kind of poop green colored ones. Sort of around the base. Yeah, they said. That is beautiful. These are some pictures, obviously, of the Grand Canyon. And they are pretty beautiful. We're going to hit up a few more of those here when we get done reading. So, but 1.84 billion years ago. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's crazy. I'm not a rock guy. I got a sister-in-law that collects rocks. You know, there is people that do that. I know it blows your mind. I'm not a rock person. I'm not Mr. Geology here. You know what I'm saying? I get geology mixed up with geography like all the motherfucking time, though they might as well be the same thing. But, you know, that's pretty sick. 1.84 billion years old. That's pretty incredible. For a period after that, between around 1.75 billion and 1.25 billion years ago, the Grand Canyon's geological history is missing. Oh, erosion erased rocks from that period like chapters ripped out of a history book. The story picks up again between 1.25 billion and 730 million years ago when new layers of rock known as the Grand Canyon Supergroup, intermittently formed. Wow, that's interesting. Erosion just took those fuckers right out, huh? Sediments drifted to the bottom of prehistoric seas and hardened there, forming layers that include a 1.25 billion year old limestone studded with fossils of algae, the earliest life recorded in the canyon. That's pretty cool. I do love me some dinosaur bones. I'm not a huge fan of rocks. A rock is a rock. You pick up a rock, you're like, look, it's a cool rock, all right? It's dope. But dinosaur bones are much cooler. So, more than 100 million years ago, the upper rock layers settle into place. Wow, so the upper layers are 100 million years old. That's pretty crazy. So there's the Grand Canyon Supergroup that formed right there. Sea level, the Cambrian Sea. This is 500 million years ago. Over the next few hundreds of millions of years, ocean fed sediments continued to pile up. The rocks that formed the upper two-thirds of the canyon walls, the limestones and shales and sandstones of different shimmering colors, belong to this period. Between about 508 million and 270 million years ago, around that time frame, John Strong Newberry, who in 1857 became the first geologist to explore the canyon, called them the most splendid exposure of stratified rocks that there is in the world. Capping everything at the canyon's rim sits the cream-colored Kaibab limestone, which is a relatively sprightly 270 million years old, right? So cut the canyon in. So there's the basement rocks. We don't even really see a lot of those bitches. I guess, yeah, they're right along the water's edge are them basement rocks that are 1.5 billion years old. Then you have the Grand Canyon supergroups, they call those, and then the 60-mile formation. Why do they call it that? What's the deal with that? Did I skip that? Oh, yeah, I did. They decided to analyze mineral fragments from one of the rock layers known as the 60-mile formation. It had never been accurately dated before, but was thought to be around 650 million years old. The mineral studies showed it to be just 500 million years old. You were way off. You were way off. Where's your geology skills, son? That means that the 60-mile formation is not part of the older Grand Canyon supergroup, but part of the younger group of rocks that formed as sea level rose and washed waters back and forth across the region. Now, Karlstrom's team can use those new dates to better understand how quickly that flooding happened and how rapidly other rock layers formed atop the 60-mile formation. It doesn't ever tell us why they say that, but that's what it's called. And then you have layered Paleozoic rocks going all the way up to the tippy top where young little Tony eats his ham sandwich. So, more than a million years, the plateau rises, a river runs through it. I think that was the name of a movie, yeah. More than 10,000 years ago is the first recorded human instance in the Grand Canyon. As the geological story of the canyon would to an end, the human story begins. I think they missed the word would come to an end. The human story begins. People first arrived in the Americas at the end of the last ice age more than 12,000 years ago. But around 10,000 years ago, they were living in and around the canyon and hunting enormous, now extinct beasts such as the Shasta sloth. More recently, people living in the canyon made and left split twig animal figurines that have been dated to be about 4,000 years ago. Wow, look at that. 4,000-year-old little figurines. There's some little tiny fucking toddler playing with these bitches 4,000 years ago. That's so fucking cool. And 100 years ago is when the canyon becomes an American destination, right? And you can see right here the chips in the formation where Native American tribes used to live in there. That's pretty fucking cool. And then we got some stuff about water level. So there's about the Grand Canyon, how it was formed, why it's such a big deal. You know, ultimately, you can take pictures of it. This right here, again, this is just a resource that I'm going to throw in the description. This is the actual, like, Grand Canyon National Park website where it gives you all the park closures and then all the stuff that there is to do there, what's open. I'm surprised nobody has opened up, like, restaurants and shit around there. You know, again, like, it is kind of crazy that you go all the way out to see the Grand Canyon and they're like, here's a fucking ham sandwich. You know, but it is what it is. I guess it's a park, not a, resort, so it, But anyways, yeah, here's all a bunch of cool information about where you can see it, how to get there, all that good stuff, yeah. And then this is where the awe of it all really comes out. Oops. 8 facts about the Grand Canyon I didn't know. Well, what a happy surprise. You might actually look at that. But this is where, let's go to the YouTube screen. Because I know I'm handsome, but this is what convinces you of its awe, right? This is the reason it's on the list of the 7 natural wonders. Because when the beauty of it is really obviously what it is. And pictures just don't do it justice. They just really don't. There's no way you can take a picture of this and capture just how incredible it is to be a teeny tiny little speck right over here with your tiny ass little ham sandwich, just seeing how big this whole thing is and being like, holy shit. If I fell off this thing, I would so fucking die. But it's really fucking cool. It's so beautiful. One of those things where you can do your best to try to capture it in pictures, but it just really doesn't come through, you know? It's very beautiful though, man. Look at that. Definitely something that you do got to go see. I totally agree with Mr. Teddy Roosevelt, Mr. Wrestling Badass up there. He was totally correct about that. It's something that you need to go see. Look at that water. That's so fucking blue. That has to be photoshopped, yeah. You don't see water that blue anywhere. But yeah, really pretty place. They even had some pictures of it snow capped, didn't they? I thought I seen that shit. Wow, look at that. That's gorgeous. Tiny picture, but yeah, that's so crazy. So yeah, obviously, I mean, very beautiful. Look at how tiny these people are. Little tiny baby people. Look at how big that canyon is, how far it goes. And that's the crazy part of it. When you're there and you see how big it is, it's just like, oh man, really incredible. Really incredible stuff. Oh, there's another one with snow. That's neat. Wow, that's gorgeous. Gosh, that almost makes me miss the snow. I never thought I would ever say that growing up in fucking Wyoming, living in Colorado for 8 years. About the only reason I was excited to leave Colorado was I wouldn't have to pay $1,800 for a fucking studio apartment anymore, and I was leaving the snow. Super psyched, super stoked about that. But you see that, and that's so beautiful. It's like, wow, man, I kind of miss the snow. Just a little bit, not a lot, just a teeny weeny bit. Just enough that, like, maybe one good snow a year, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm good on that snow. But yeah, beautiful place. Definitely something you should go check out at least once in your life. 8 facts. Let's see how interesting these 8 facts are, though. We don't really know how old it is. Well, I don't feel like that's true, right? How old is this article? Didn't they just tell us how old it was in the other article? I'm pretty sure they did. Nationalparks.org. Okay, the Grand Canyon creates its own weather. Of all Grand Canyon facts, this one is pretty cool. No pun intended. Said it, what's the pun? I don't get the pun. Cool. Oh, cool like the weather? Okay, well, that was a bad pun. I mean, even my dad jokes are better than that. Oh, here, let's pop back over me, y'all. Sudden changes in elevation have an enormous impact on temperature and precipitation, so the weather you're experiencing could vary drastically depending on where you are in the Grand Canyon. The coldest, wettest weather station in the region is the Bright Angel Ranger Station on the North Rim, while the hottest and one of the driest is just 8 miles away on Phantom Ranch. That's pretty crazy. That is kind of a neat fact. It's not the deepest canyon in the world. Oh, wow. Wow. The Yarlung, this place in Tibet, plummets to a depth of 17,000 feet. 2 miles deeper than the Grand Canyon's 6,000 feet. That's pretty incredible. Wow, that's insane. There are no dinosaur bones in the Grand Canyon. That's not a cool fact. That's a fucking bummer of a fact. That sucks. Dinosaur bones are dope. So the Grand Canyon might look like the perfect place to go looking for dinosaur bones, but none have ever been found there, and for good reason. The rock that makes up the canyon walls is vastly more ancient than the dinosaurs, about 1 billion years more ancient in some cases. But the canyon itself probably didn't form until after the dinosaurs were gone. Wow, what a bummer. Oh, there are lots of other fossils in the area. Okay, yeah. They range from marine fossils. Okay, that's probably what I was thinking. That, it would probably be closer to like the shit you'd find in the ocean, right? Fish are uncommon in the Grand Canyon. Okay, because of the Colorado River's flood control measures. Only 8 species of fish are native to the Grand Canyon. Oh, wow. There's a town in the Grand Canyon. Really? I wouldn't have thought that. Supai Village is located at the base of the Grand Canyon within the Havasupai Indian Reservation. Oh, okay. Yeah, I did read a little bit about that. That was a tribe that was native to the Grand Canyon. They had always lived there. Inaccessible by road and with a population of just 208, it is the most remote community in the lower 48 states and is the only place where mail is still delivered by pack mule. Okay, well, I got to be honest about that. Like lower 48, there's a reason they say that because in my town of Douglas, Wyoming, about an hour drive outside of it is a town called the Lost Springs. And it's a real town. It's on the map. It has a post office. In the state of Wyoming, that's all that's required to be a town. Okay. The population of Lost Springs is 6. It's 6 people that live there. That's got to be one of the smallest towns in the history of the country. So, yeah, I think we even beat these guys out there in Wyoming. So, we're missing 950 million years worth of rock. Okay, we did kind of go over that. That was all erosion is what did that. So, there you have it. Okay, that's the Grand Canyon, everybody. Very beautiful place, yeah. In Alaska, yeah. Oh, well, I think you're right. Because that's what it is, actually. Like, see, then they're totally wrong on that. Because there's much smaller towns. Not in Alaska, I mean, that article that I read, there's much, much smaller towns than that. In Wyoming, South Dakota, I mean, there's, what is it called? Oh, Acme. Acme, Wyoming. Acme, Wyoming is like a town of like 60 people, 60, 70 people. So, but yeah, that's probably because it is the lower 48, because it's everything underneath Alaska. So, okay. Anyways, we're moving on to our third one, the harbor of Rio de Janeiro. I was going to ask, Cutie, have you ever been to the Grand Canyon? You ever seen that? Because that would be cool to go there. You and me can have a ham sandwich there together. Be my second one there. But while you're typing that up, so the third, no, you haven't. Well, we should definitely go there again because it is pretty. It is very beautiful. It's one of those things where you're like, okay, I'm gonna go look at a bunch of rocks today, I guess, and then you get there and you're like, oh, okay, it's very beautiful. I get why it's such a big fucking deal. It's definitely worth seeing at least once. But anyways. We're going to move on to our third. The Grand Canyon, it's in a few states. Nevada, I went to it in Nevada, but it's in Nevada and Arizona are the big places where you can go to visit it. So that's a good question. I don't know why I didn't look that up. Or just say that in the stream, right? I'm glad you're here to ask the important questions. What states is the Grand Canyon in? Arizona. Okay, so Arizona. So I guess you can get to it from Nevada because it's right next to it. We actually flew there in a helicopter, is what we did. We were staying in Nevada outside of Las Vegas and piled into a helicopter and helicoptered our ass to the Grand Canyon. But yeah, it was pretty fun. I mean, it's when you're a young boy, getting into a helicopter is always going to be fun, and that's way more funner than the canyon, right? Oh, well, yeah, helicopters are fun. They are. I mean, the first time. After that, every time after, it's a helicopter. It doesn't change. It's like your first plane ride. Your first plane ride, you're like, oh man, this is going to be cool. And then you do it and you're like, okay, it was cool to do it. And then next time after that, you're like, fuck, I got to get on a plane today, son of a bitch. It's kind of like that. So, but Arizona is where the Grand Canyon is. Ask Cutie Pie asking the hard questions over here, the important shit. Okay. Harbor of Rio de Janeiro is going to be the third natural wonder on our list of wonders of the natural world. So, this is the 7 Natural Wonders website. We're going to read a little bit about the Harbor of Rio de Janeiro. So, nestled between the towering granite peaks, the Harbor of Rio de Janeiro, also known as Guanabara Bay, is a natural masterpiece that graces the city with its spectacular beauty, embraced by iconic landmarks like Sugarloaf Mountain and the outstretched arms of Christ the Redeemer. We'll research a little bit about that here in a minute. This harbor is a bustling gateway to one of the world's most vibrant cities. Its calm waters are adorned with sailing vessels and framed by lush green hills. The bay's vast expanse provides a stunning backdrop to the city's lively culture and samba rhythms. Beyond its aesthetic allure, the harbor of Rio de Janeiro has been witness to historic events, including the arrival of Portuguese explorers in 1502. Today, it stands as a symbol of Brazil's rich maritime history, and a captivating playground where the energy of Rio converges with the tranquility of the sea, inviting locals and visitors alike to revel in its breathtaking panorama. So, oh, they're going to rob us of the pictures, I see. Physical characteristics: the harbor of Rio de Janeiro, Guanabara Bay. It's fine. They're not going to give us pictures on this website. They're a bunch of dicks. Oh, look, there's some pictures. Oh, okay. They're going to let us see these pictures. Good. Okay. So there's the city of Rio de Janeiro, and then here's the harbor that goes in. It stretches all the way around in a big loop. And then there's Christ the Redeemer right up there. And there's all the little tiny people. Look at the little ants all around him. We'll jump in through all these pictures and check it out. But let's read about some of the physical characteristics. The harbor, also known as Guanabara Bay, is a colossal natural harbor situated along Brazil's southeastern coast. Expanding over 31 miles in circumference, it stands as one of the largest bays globally, cradled by lush green mountains and renowned landmarks. So that's kind of the reason why it's on the list of natural wonders. It's a natural bay that's enclosed, that's 31 miles long. That's a pretty fucking long ass bay. That's a big bay. And if I'm not mistaken, we'll read about it a little more. I actually got a video to show us that goes over it. I believe Rio de Janeiro goes all the way around the whole bay, which is really cool. With depths varying from 16 to 130 feet, the bay's waters create a haven for diverse marine life and seafaring activities. The bay's unique shape, resembling a giant heart, forms a protective embrace around the city, contributing to a strategic importance throughout history. Encircled by iconic peaks such as Sugarloaf Mountain and Corcovado, where the famous Christ the Redeemer statue stands. The harbor's physical features weave a breathtaking tapestry of nature and urbanity. So, here's some of the wildlife there. Look at this little monkey. He's like a little balding man, isn't he? He's like a grumpy little man who lost all his hair. He's really cute. Dolphin pods. So there's dolphins in the bay, which is really cool. Sea turtles. Sea turtles are always dope. A whole bunch of tropical fish. Jellyfish. Ooh, those are not so dope. They're pretty, but, pretty from a distance. Seahorses. Oh, I think seahorses are so fucking cute. They're also, fun fact about seahorses, they are the deadliest animal in the world in terms of kill rate. When any kill rate, meaning like the amount of times whenever like a creature attempts to kill another creature, how successful they are. Seahorses have the deadliest kill rate. They kill 98% of all animals that they fight with. And granted, okay, the only animals they fight with are like fucking plankton, and plankton can't really do a hell of a lot to anything, but they are 98% success kill rate. Pretty interesting, yeah. Pelicans can be little bastards, but in a really endearing way. Egrets. What is an egret? Great egrets. Okay, let's look this up. Great egret. Oh, it's a bird. Okay, for some reason I was thinking like a monkey. Okay, that's an egret. Good to know. Frigate birds. Okay, and capuchin monkeys. I'm assuming that's the capuchin monkey. I wonder how big capuchin monkeys are. Oh, look at that. That's cute as shit. That's such a cute little guy. Those are the little monkeys that you always see on somebody's shoulder, right? There's a mama with their little baby monkey. Super cute. I'm not seeing the old man monkey though. I was interested in what the little old man monkey was. Well, there you go. Those are capuchin monkeys. Adorable. And hermit crabs. Well, I had a lot of hermit crabs in my life. My little brother had hermit crabs, and every single one of them died, and we just replaced it, and he wouldn't know the difference. He named every one Speedy. All right, so there's the Christ the Redeemer statue in the bay. Here's the whole city of Rio de Janeiro. That's crazy. I mean, that is very beautiful. It is. I mean, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I don't like that. I prefer just flat lands with nothing in it. I don't like the city." But I think cities can be very, very beautiful. Denver is still my number one favorite, like most beautiful city I've ever seen. And this, though, that is a very beautiful city. That's pretty incredible. There's a bay from another angle. There's our little angry man, balding man monkey. And even close up of Christ the Redeemer. There's a hill. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Makes it look so. You said you don't like monkeys. They're too close to humans, right? A little too human-y for you. It's kind of like Uncanny Valley style. This honestly makes the bay look so small, right? Like you don't realize how big these buildings are. Christ the Redeemer again. Wow, that is beautiful. Look at that. That is gorgeous. Gosh. And back to that one. Okay, so there's some pretty pictures of the harbor of Rio de Janeiro. Yeah, I've definitely been told that. That's why I don't like chimps. I think chimps are fucking scary. I would never fuck with a chimp. Like I wouldn't want to be around a chimpanzee. No way, no how. You couldn't pay me enough money. Because yeah, the thing is, monkeys might be unpredictable, but a chimpanzee can like rip your body parts off, and it doesn't take it a lot of effort. It really doesn't. Their muscles are so compact. You can, Joe Rogan talks about it all the time. Those little fuckers are vicious, and not little, big fuckers. And if they're unpredictable, if they go crazy, like people are gonna lose limbs. You know what I mean? But those cute little capuchin monkeys are like, they're like, yeah, fucking big. That thing goes crazy. I mean, it'll probably like throw a turd at you or something. I heard monkeys do that. They'll shit and throw it at you, which is aggravating. To get hit in the face with a turd is going to piss you off, but it's going to be kind of funny afterwards, right? I mean, if you're the one standing in the room watching a turd get flung at somebody else, it's going to make you laugh. You can't say that you're not going to smile at a little monkey throwing its shit at somebody else, right? You're going to laugh. Like, you're going to be like, oh, that sucks, bro. But it's pretty fucking funny. And that's about it, right? They get unpredictable, and what they got. They shit in their hand and throw it at you. So I think that's kind of cute. But I still wouldn't own one. I'm pretty sure you gotta like any other animal, you need to know what you're doing before you have one around and take care of it. And I don't know shit about monkeys, so I would never have a monkey. I never want to get one because I don't know how to take care of a monkey. I can barely take care of myself. So monkeys out of the question. Yeah. But anyways, we're gonna move on from that website and talk a little bit about Christ the Redeemer, this statue here. So just some fun facts about it. This is one of the main draws to Rio de Janeiro. I'm sure that and the food. The food is probably fucking amazing down there. Oh, I bet it's so fucking good. Oh, it's a bummer. I started streaming at 11, and since then Adamant hasn't been in the stream, and he's from Brazil. Like, that would be cool to have him on the stream to talk about, what it's like to be in Brazil and like the food and shit there, because he's there in Brazil. I don't know how close he is to Rio de Janeiro, but, so I'm sure he's been there. But so interesting facts about Christ the Redeemer statue. So the proportion and scale. The ancient Greeks knew the power of proportion and scale when they designed it. Leonardo da Vinci may have popularized the sacred geometry of the Vitruvian man figure with arms outstretched within circles and squares, but it was architect Marcus Vitruvius who noticed and documented the proportions of the human form, way back before the birth of Jesus Christ. The symbolism attached to the Christian Latin cross is profound, yet its simple design can be traced back to ancient Greece. Oh, wow, so it goes all the way back then. But yeah, it's super big, and it's crazy because they don't tell us exactly how big it is, but that Christ the Redeemer statue is huge. The aesthetics of the statue is very beautiful. Outstretched arms like the cross, absolutely, Engineering and preservation. Building a large but delicate-looking structure at the top of a very steep mountain was an accomplishment similar to engineering historic skyscrapers being built in Chicago and New York City during the same time period. Yeah, that is pretty fucking crazy, man. That is a giant statue on a very steep mountain. Makes you think, how the fuck did they get that bitch up there, right? Symbolism, obviously the Christian symbolism. Architecture is protection and collaboration. If architecture includes everything in the built environment, we look at the purpose of the statues as we would any other structure. Why is it here? Like other buildings, the placement on the site is an important aspect. The statue of Christ the Redeemer has become a symbolic protector of people. Like Jesus Christ, the statue protects the urban environment like a roof over your head. Christ the Redeemer is as important as any shelter. Christ the Redeemer provides protection for the soul. So yeah, they must be fairly religious down there in Rio de Janeiro. You know, because that's a big part of the reason why a lot of people go down there is to check out Christ the Redeemer statue. There's a few of these, like Christ the Redeemer, Christ the Forgiver, Christ the this, Christ the that, statues all around the world, but this one is one of the big main ones, right? But we're going to move from that for a second. I just thought I'd point that out. That's a big thing that people love about Rio de Janeiro. But here is, we're going to only watch like a few minutes of it, 3 or 4 minutes of it, just so you can get an idea for how fucking pretty the harbor of Rio de Janeiro is. So let's hop over to the YouTube screen. Okay, check it out.
Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome, dear friends, to Rio de Janeiro, a city where the rhythm of life pulses like the samba and beauty unfolds at every turn. Join me, Joanna Lumley, as we embark on a journey to discover the beating heart of this vibrant city, its breathtaking harbor. Rio de Janeiro, the marvelous city, is a place that explodes with color, music, and the infectious energy of its people. And at the heart of it all...
Yeah, see, that nightlife, I'm in my 30s, all right, so I'm kind of at the point of like, nightlife, you know, my nightlife is sitting down with a fucking book. You know, craziest thing I do is smoke a little weed before I read my book, and then I set up my stream, and then I go to bed. And that's my nightlife, yeah. But I would totally, this is really pretty. This is so beautiful, this city right here by the beach. Like, that would be so cool. I bet the nightlife down here is amazing. Like, so much fun. I can't imagine how many awesome clubs and restaurants are down here, and how fun it would be to just be with your friends, chilling and drinking on that beach. That would just be a fucking blast.
Color, music, and the infectious energy of its people. And at the heart of it all lies Guanabara Bay, a sparkling jewel that has captivated explorers, artists, and dreamers for centuries. Prepare to be enchanted by a vista so spectacular, so unforgettable, that it will forever remain etched in your memory. Let us begin our exploration. Imagine a place where emerald green mountains plunge into the azure waters of the Atlantic Ocean, creating a tapestry of islands, inlets, and hidden coves. This, my friends, is Guanabara Bay, a natural wonder that will leave you breathless. As our boat glides through the calm waters, feel the gentle sea breeze caress your face and the warm Brazilian sun kiss your skin. Look around and marvel at the sheer scale and beauty of this natural harbor. The bay stretches out before us, a shimmering expanse dotted with lush tropical islands. The air is alive with the sound of seabirds, their calls echoing across the water. Truly, this is a sight that must be seen to be believed. Standing sentinel over this magnificent harbor are 2 iconic landmarks, each a symbol of Rio's unique character. To the east rises Sugarloaf Mountain, its granite peak resembling a giant sugarloaf, a reminder of the city's colonial past. And then there's Christ the Redeemer, his arms outstretched in a gesture of peace and welcome from atop Corcovado Mountain. This awe-inspiring statue, visible from almost every corner of the city, is a testament to the faith and spirit of the Brazilian people. These 2 landmarks, forever linked to Rio's identity, frame the harbor in a way that is both dramatic and deeply moving. They are constant reminders of the city's rich history, its vibrant culture, and the enduring power of nature. Guanabara Bay has witnessed the ebb and flow of history for centuries. This natural harbor, one of the largest in the world, has been a silent observer to countless events that have shaped the course of human history. It was here in 1502 that Portuguese explorers first set eyes on this magnificent harbor, mistaking it for a river's mouth. The explorers, led by Gaspar de Lemos, were in awe of the bay's vastness and beauty. They named it Rio de Janeiro, the river of...
Imagine landing here where there's no buildings and all it is just trees as far as you can see and mountains. That was probably pretty incredible. Very breathtaking. Just sand, no roads, nothing. That would have probably been beautiful. I still think it is beautiful. I think that's a very beautiful city. I would love to visit Rio de Janeiro one time.
January, unaware of the true nature of their discovery. This name has endured through the centuries, becoming synonymous with the vibrant city that would eventually grow around the bay. Little did they know that this river would become the gateway to a new world, a melting pot of cultures and a city destined for greatness. The harbour became a crucial point of entry for explorers, settlers, and traders from around the globe. Over the centuries, the harbour has seen it all, from the arrival of European colonists and the rise of the coffee trade to the abolition of slavery and the birth of a nation. Each era brought new challenges and opportunities, leaving an indelible mark on the harbour's history. Each wave of history has left its mark on this iconic waterway, shaping the city we see today. The harbour stands as a testament to the resilience and adaptability of Rio de Janeiro, reflecting its past while embracing the future. From its early days as a misunderstood river to its current status as a bustling metropolis, Guanabara Bay remains a symbol of the enduring spirit of exploration and discovery.
So there you have it. We're going to probably end the video right there. It is pretty cool, very important historical place, which is another reason why it's probably on that list of the natural wonders of the world. That you got the beautiful mountains, you got all the wildlife, the Christ the Redeemer statue, the Sugarloaf Mountain, and then, you know, just the fact that it has a big giant, one of the biggest bays in the world. It's pretty cool. It would be really fun to visit. Again, I bet the nightlife and the food is so fucking amazing there. It would be worth to check it out just once. But we're going to move on to our fourth of these 7 wonders, right? Like I said, we're going to kind of move through this pretty quickly today. I can already feel my tummy rumbling, right? No breakfast. I'm getting pretty hungry. Mount Everest is number 4 on the list. All right. So let's read a little bit about Mount Everest, right? We're going to read just, basic facts about it, some physical features of it. Then we'll probably switch over because there's a lot of fun and interesting and some kind of disturbing facts about Mount Everest. So we're going to dive into all that, right? Okay. The Mount Everest mountain on the crest of the Great Himalayas of Southern Asia that lies on the border between Nepal and the Tibet Autonomous Region of China. There's the coordinates, reaching an elevation of 29,000 feet or 8,849 meters. Mount Everest is the highest mountain in the world. Like other high peaks in the region, Mount Everest has long been revered by local peoples. It is most common Tibetan name, Chomolungma. Chomolungma means goddess mother of the world or goddess of the valley. Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that. The Sanskrit name, Sagarmatha, means literally peak of heaven. Its identity as the highest point on Earth's surface was not recognized, however, until 1852, when the Government Survey of India established that fact. In 1865, the mountain, previously referred to as Peak 15, was renamed for Sir George Everest, British Surveyor General of India from 1830 to 1843. Another burp. I don't even have anything in my stomach to burp up. According to etymological sources, the mountain's western name is often mispronounced Everest or Everest. That's exactly how I say Everest, despite the pronunciation of Sir George Everest's surname being Everest. Oh, okay, so it's technically Mount Everest, but, we say Everest or Everest. I say Everest, personally. Physical features, geology, and relief. The Himalayan ranges are thrust upward by tectonic action as the Indian-Australian plate moved northward from the south and was subducted or forced downward under the Eurasian plate following the collision of the two plates between about 40 and 50 million years ago. The Himalayas themselves started rising about 25 to 30 million years ago. And the Great Himalayas began to take their present form during the Pleistocene epoch, about 2.6 to 11.7 million years ago. Everest and its surrounding peaks are part of a large mountain massif that forms a focal point or knot of this tectonic action in the Great Himalayas. Information from global positioning instruments in place on Everest since the late 1990s. I'm going to still call it Everest. I'm going to just do what I do. Everest sounds right to me, so I'm sticking with that. They can't convince me otherwise. Indicates that the mountain continues to move a few inches to the northeast and rise a fraction of an inch each year. Oh, that's kind of cool. Everest is composed of multiple layers of rock folded back on themselves, called nappes. Rock on the lower elevation of the mountain consists of metamorphic schists and gneisses, topped by igneous granites. Ooh, I don't know what any of that is. Higher up are found sedimentary rocks of marine origin, remnants of the ancient seafloor of the Tethys Sea that closed after the collision of the two plates. Notable is the Yellow Band, a limestone formation that is prominently visible just below the summit pyramid. We can't see it in that picture, that's for sure. The barren southwest, southeast, northeast, and west ridges culminate in the Everest summit. A short distance away is the South Summit, a minor bump on the southeast ridge with an elevation of 28.7 thousand feet. The mountain can be seen directly from its northeastern side, where it rises about 12,000 feet above the plateau of Tibet. Then you got a whole series of different peaks that are a part of the mountain range. So I guess it's shaped like a three-sided pyramid. Three generally flat planes constituting the sides are called faces, and the line by which the two faces join is known as a ridge. The north face rises above Tibet and is bounded by the North Ridge and the West Ridge. Key features of this side of the mountain include the Great and Hornibian Couloirs, or steep gullies, and the North Col at the start of the North Ridge. You got to be a geology fan, I feel like, to know what any of that is. Yeah. So snow that fluctuates annually by some 5 to 20 feet. The snow level is highest in September after the monsoon and lowest in May after having been depleted by the strong northwesterly winter winds. The summit and upper slopes sit so high in the Earth's atmosphere that the amount of breathable oxygen there is 1/3 what it is at sea level. Interesting. And that's part of the reason why you don't get a whole lot of animals up there, because it's so thin as far as air goes. This is just basic Britannica where we're at, and it just goes and it goes and it just goes. You're going to keep on going. We're not going to read all of that. We're going to hop over here for some interesting facts. So, requirements of climbing Everest, right? That's the thing. You're going to go see Everest. You know, you can go, there's a little Sherpa town at the base. They even say that they're securing an Everest climbing permit, visiting Mount Everest base camp. There's a base camp there, I suppose. You know, I don't think it's necessarily a town. I don't know. We'll have to keep reading, because I could have sworn somewhere it said that there was a town at the bottom of Mount Everest, you know, a ways from it where you can see it. But obviously, ideally, the best view is to go visit it. And I'll be honest, I'm not going to do that anytime soon. That's not on my bucket list. For some people it is. For me, it is not. But I still put this up here for people because there's a lot of people that do want to do that. Requirements for climbing Mount Everest. And they're pretty extensive. I didn't know this, but you need to secure an Everest climbing permit. You need to first start at the Mount Everest Base Camp. Visitors can only apply for and purchase a permit to visit Everest Base Camp for a specific number of days. However, if issued this permit, the holder is restricted from traveling past the Everest Base Camp. This means no climbing the Khumbu Icefall into Advanced Base Camp. So they have camps you have to have permits for, apparently. I guess maybe just 2. I don't know how many, but you have to complete the Khumbu Icefall. Okay, the Nepalese government, Nepalese? The Nepalese. We're going to go with Nepalese. The Nepalese government also issues permits for climbers who only wish to climb the icefall. Oh, okay. Experience this kind of mountaineering at a lower altitude. If issued this permit, the holder may travel to and from Advanced Base Camp and Base Camp as part of a private team or commercial expedition. All right, so you have to climb the Khumbu Icefall. Then you have to climbing to the summit of Mount Everest. Experience prerequisites. This is what I was kind of looking for, right? So you must have previously climbed a Nepalese mountain with a height of 21,000 feet or higher before getting a permit. Climbers must also submit documentation certifying that they are in good health and physical fitness as determined by a medical health professional. Furthermore, climbers are required to undergo a basic training session for good mountaineering practices and high altitude climbing techniques. You need to purchase rescue insurance up there. Didn't know that was a thing. And you need to hire a local Sherpa guide to get you up there. So this is in part due to the economic development of the native Sherpas. Nepal relies heavily on permit fees for its revenue. The policy ensures that a greater quantity of Sherpas also receive job opportunities and income to build their own futures and secure a quality standard of life for their families. Well, that makes a lot of sense, yeah. And supposedly the Sherpas are pretty good at doing what they do. And then you have to look at the Nepalese Everest laws, right? You can read on that. If you're one of those mofos that's like, I am going to climb Everest one day, That'll be a useful resource for you. I'll link in the description. Next one, too, would be how to train for Everest. You might want to look at that. This is a whole, I'm not going to go over this, but this is a whole web page. It's a long one, too, about all the various ways you need to be training in order to make it up Everest, right? And the basic fundamentals are you need to have aerobic capacity because of the lack of oxygen up there, little strength training, muscular endurance, form technique, acclimatization, since again, you're at that high altitude, and hypoxic conditioning. Again, that's, you know, because you're so high up there, cardinal principles of endurance training. Then he goes through all the different types of aerobic training you're going to need to do. It even goes for how to structure workouts and distribution and timing wise, rest days and easy weeks, muscular endurance, tapering for when you're about ready to go, mental training. There's a little sentence on that. So yeah, there's some good information there on how to train for getting up Mount Everest, right? Which is pretty important. You're going to want to look at that if you're looking at climbing Mount Everest. That's definitely something to look into, because the last interesting and disturbing fact about Mount Everest is the death rate of Mount Everest. So the Everest dead bodies. How many people have died on Mount Everest? Thousands of people flock to Mount Everest each year, hoping to summit the world's most famous mountain. Sadly, not all of them make it back. When you're climbing a mountain that's 8,800 meters tall, accidents happen. Sometimes bad weather rolls in, sometimes climbers get injured, and a lot of the time oxygen is limited. On Everest, it's always life and death. So, most common causes of death, interesting facts. Deaths on Everest, how do they happen? 20 ascending the summit, 90 descending the summit, 11 expedition evacuations, 120 during route preparation, 36 have died just at base camp, 6 have died en route to base camp. I don't even know what that means. Like what, they got hit by a car walking up there? Where did they come from? The number one, Nepal, Japan, UK, India, and USA are the top 5 places where people have came from and died. Obviously Nepal because they live there, yeah. Most common causes of death are avalanches. That's a bummer. And then next is other. We don't even know. Like, it's just random shit. And then fall, and then acute mountain sickness and exposure to frostbite. That's a bummer. So, how many people have died on Everest? According to the Himalayan database, at least 322 people have perished on Mount Everest since records began in 1922, averaging out to about 4.4 deaths per year. And that number slowly ticks up each year because more people are visiting it, is why. The first summit of the mountain was in 1953, so that means 4 to 5 people have died there each year since then. But in reality, not many people attempted to climb the mountain until the 1990s, when commercial trips started to be offered. The single deadliest day occurred on April 25th, 2015. A 7.8 magnitude earthquake resulted in the deaths of 19 people at the base camp. Another tragic day happened on April 14th, 2014, when an avalanche took out 16 Nepali climbing guides. The 2 devastating days have gone down in history. Now, the percent rate is still pretty high. The death rate of climbing Mount Everest for the last 30 years is only about 1%. The percentage of deaths to successful attempts is around 4%, deaths to success. Okay, so that's a pretty low death rate still, right? So how many dead bodies are on Everest? Because I don't know if you know this. This is one of the more disturbing facts about Everest is they leave the bodies up there. According to the climbing community to date, an estimated 300 people have died climbing Mount Everest, with approximately 200 bodies still on the mountain. Some of the dearly departed are visible on the mountain, while others are forever lost. It is not uncommon to walk over frozen bodies while summiting Mount Everest. But why aren't they being removed? Well, recovering bodies is risky and expensive. Once you get into the mountain's highest section, referred to as the death zone, bodies quickly freeze into the mountain. The task is far too demanding, and good weather conditions only last for so long. So we've already kind of went over that. The death zone, located in the highest region of the mountain. The death zone presents climbers with extreme cold, dangerously low oxygen levels, and inhospitable conditions. As climbers ascend higher, they must carefully monitor their physical well-being and mental state to mitigate risks. The lack of oxygen at this high altitude region can lead to hypoxia, frostbite, exhaustion, and severe altitude sickness. Add to this the unforgiving terrain and unpredictable weather patterns, and the risks are magnified. Climbers must move diligently yet swiftly to minimize their exposure to the deadly conditions. So, how long can you survive there? In this zone, oxygen pressures are extremely low, and humans are unable to stay for long without having a supply of oxygen. Experts don't recommend anyone stay in the death zone for more than 16 to 20 hours. So that's pretty intense, right? So here's a few of the noticeable deceased. Sleeping Beauty, Frances Arsenault. I don't know how to say that. So Frances was an experienced climber who lost her life on Everest in May 1998. She and her husband, Sergey, were attempting to summit without supplemental oxygen. Despite reaching the summit, difficulties on the descent proved fatal for both, with high-altitude cerebral edema. Edema is when fluid collects. Cerebral means right in your brain or your spine, right? So fluid collection in the brain, likely contributing to their deaths. Frances' final words, "Don't leave me," added a deeply human element to the tragedy. Frances gained the nickname Sleeping Beauty of Everest due to her striking appearance. As she lay on the mountain, she looks as peaceful as if she were asleep. The harsh conditions had left her skin pale and waxen. After 9 years, her body was finally discovered and recovered in 2007. Jeesh. What a bummer, man. So, yeah. It is a dangerous thing. It's not super dangerous, only 1% death rate, but still, nowadays, used to be much more. The dead body thing is pretty intense. We're actually going to read a little bit more about it, or rather, we're going to watch something about it. Let me pop this up here. So this is, let me go back a step. The bodies used as landmarks on Mount Everest. This is Simple History. They're a really good channel. All kinds of interesting facts, but let's take a look at what they have to say about the bodies being used as landmarks.
Wix. Go to wix.com/go/simple history to create a website now. The mummified bodies used as landmarks on Mount Everest. While Mount Everest offers death at every corner, mountaineers continue to try to scale it. It is unknown how many bodies are on the mountain, but some say there are more than 200. There are several dangers. The higher the climber gets to the summit, the stronger the winds become, which can blow a climber off the mountain, sending them plummeting to their deaths. Lower oxygen levels also make breathing difficult, and a climber may stop for a brief rest, only to never wake up again. Frostbite can also occur in minutes. The corpses of the unlucky victims of Everest are well preserved due to the cold climate, posed in their last moments in the clothing they set off with on their way to the summit, frozen in time. The rescue of an incapacitated person is so dangerous when high up the mountain that attempting it can result in your own death. So the bodies are often left where the person died. One of the first attempts to reach the summit of Mount Everest was by George Mallory, who was part of a number of British expeditions in the 1920s. In 1924, along with Andrew Irvine, he set off from Advanced Base Camp, never to return. Apart from his ice axe and an oxygen cylinder, Irvine has never been found. Mallory's body was discovered in 1999, his corpse still preserved but sun-bleached, with a taut rope around his waist and a puncture in the front of the skull. It is suggested that the pair fell and the axe struck Mallory in the head. The most famous corpse is Green Boots, thought to be Suwang Paljor, who was an Indian climber who died in 1996. A deadly year in Everest's history, which would see 15 people die trying to reach the summit. He became separated from his party when he sought shelter in an open-mouthed cave at 8,500 meters, or 27,900 feet. He shivered in the cold until he died in a fetal position, wearing fluorescent green mountaineering boots. Every climber attempting the Northeast Ridge route to the summit will pass Green Boots. In 2006, English climber David Sharp would do just this, stopping in the cave to rest. He froze in a sitting down position, unable to move, and appeared to have a severely frostbitten nose, but was still alive. Sharp had opted to climb alone without a Sherpa and without enough oxygen and no radio to call for help. Around 40 climbers passed him by either missing him or assuming he was dead, potentially mistaking him for Green Boots. Some climbers eventually found Sharp and tried to supply supplementary oxygen. However, because he could not get up to continue, he had to be left to die. Frances Arsentiev and her husband.
Wow, that's intense. Jeez. That's a fucking bummer, bro. Yeah, pretty crazy shit. And all these people are used as landmarks now on Mount Everest, which is a wild thought.
Sergei Arsentiev were part of a climbing group descending back to camp from 8,000 meters high. But they had to do it during the night and on low oxygen supplies, which was incredibly dangerous. At one point she went missing, and Sergei chose to turn back to look for her, despite the dangers. On the way, he passed a team of Uzbek climbers. They had found her alive and frostbitten, but she could not move, so they tried to move her down as far as they could, until their own oxygen also depleted to dangerous levels, forcing them to give up their rescue. Frances and Sergei would not make it back to base camp. The next morning, Ian Woodall and Kathy O'Dowd, along with several Uzbeks, discovered Frances still alive pleading for help. However, the difficult location and -30 temperature eventually forced them to abandon the rescue, where she would die. Sergei's body was later discovered by the same team who found George Mallory.
Wow, man. Imagine having to be those people where you're in that situation where you're like, fuck, like, we can't save this person. Like, if we try, we're going to die. You know, we have to leave now, even if we're going to survive. So, adios. And she is lying there on the ground, pleading for help, saying, please don't leave me. And that's all you can do, or else you die with her. Like, that's an intense situation I wouldn't want to be left in. That's pretty nasty.
Today, the preserved mummified bodies on Mount Everest are used as markers by climbers as they aim towards the summit, a grisly reminder of the dangers the mountain poses. This Simple History episode was brought to you.
Well, there you have it. That is, what was that? Simple History, right? Pretty crazy, pretty intense facts about Mount Everest, yeah. Mount Everest is definitely one of the natural wonders, one of the tallest mountains in the world, and very beautiful from a distance. Up close, it's a little less beautiful. I would much rather be down here in Rio de Janeiro, getting some drinks, dancing with my cutie pie, yeah, you know, or in the Grand Canyon eating a ham sandwich. I'll take both of those, but you know, Mount Everest, that I'll leave that to all you other folks, yeah. So we're gonna move on to number 5 on our list. That is the Paracutin volcano, which this is an interesting one because I had never heard of this. All these other ones, okay, you know, everyone's heard of Aurora Borealis, Grand Canyon, Harbor of Rio de Janeiro. I've heard of Rio de Janeiro. I never heard of the harbor. That was interesting and fun to read about. Mount Everest. The Paracutin volcano was one of 2 of these natural wonders that I had no idea it even existed until I looked up information for this stream. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I'm going to mostly give you some information about it via this video here. The Paracutin volcano, the birth and legacy of Earth's youngest volcano. So let's check it out and learn a little bit as to why it's on the list of the 7 natural wonders.
The eruption of Paracutin on February 20th, 1943 is remarkable not only for its dramatic and sudden nature, but also for the extraordinary circumstances surrounding its emergence. This volcanic event unfolded in the small agricultural community of Paracutin, located in the Michoacán region of Mexico, where residents were entirely unprepared for the seismic spectacle that was about to occur. Dionisio Pulido, a local farmer, was tending to his cornfield when he noticed something unusual. A small crack had formed in the soil, emitting strange noises and fumes. Initially dismissing it as a minor geological occurrence, perhaps a natural vent or a small earthquake, Pulido was unaware that he was witnessing the birth of a volcano. The Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt is known for its seismic activity, but this event would prove to be anything but routine. As Pulido observed the crack widening and an acrid smell filling the air, he realized that this was no ordinary disturbance. Within hours, The fissure erupted violently, spewing ash, smoke, and lava into the sky. Terrified by the sight, Pulido rushed back to his village to warn others, shouting that the earth had burst open. By late afternoon, a large black cloud had formed over the field, accompanied by a continuous rumble that could be heard miles away. The villagers were astounded as the fissure transformed into a small volcanic cone, belching fire and molten rock. Overnight, this cone expanded rapidly. By the next morning, it had already grown to about 9 meters in height and showed no signs of stopping. In the first 24 hours alone, the volcano ejected more than 30 feet of ash and cinders into the atmosphere. Small earthquakes shook the area constantly, unsettling both residents and livestock. The initial eruption was characterized by strombolian activity, short-lived explosive bursts of lava caused by gas buildup in the magma below. These bursts sent incandescent bombs of molten rock soaring into the sky before raining down over the landscape. By the end of the first week, the volcano had reached 45 meters in height. Local villagers could only watch as this fiery giant continued to rise from their farmland, inching closer to their homes. The speed at which this volcanic cone developed became a focal point for scientists who arrived to study this extraordinary phenomenon. This event...
That's so crazy. And that's a big part of the reason I'm led to believe why it's on the list of the 7 natural wonders of the world. Because this fucking volcano just came out of nowhere. You're just like one day chilling, tending your crops, growing your beets, your corn, whatever the fuck ever. And then boom, a week later, there's a fucking volcano there. Just that sudden. That's crazy. To watch that unfold would be such a mind fuck. And then of course, it was just shooting out, giant chunks of lava for a whole fucking week. But the story gets even crazier. It's fucking wild.
Mark the first time volcanologists could document the complete life cycle of a volcano. It attracted geologists from all around the globe, with key researchers being William F. Foshag from the Smithsonian Institution and Dr. Genaro Gonzalez Reyna from the Mexican government. They arrived about a month after the eruption began and stayed for several years, creating detailed descriptions, sketches, maps, and collecting samples and thousands of photographs. Many of these resources are still referenced by researchers today. Foshag continued his study of Paricutin until his death in 1956. From 1943 to 1948, nearly 50 scientific articles about the volcano were published in leading journals. The global scientific efforts surrounding Paricutin significantly advanced the understanding of volcanism, especially the formation of scoria cones. When Pulido was asked what exactly he had witnessed, he was quoted saying,
"At 4 p.m.
When was the last time you felt joy in your daily
You
activities?
fuckers.
Maybe
When you
go
weren't
through your day
interrupting
wondering
my
if this is how
video.
you'll feel
There
I
we go.
left my wife to set a fire to a pile of branches when I noticed that a crack, which was situated on one of the nodes of my farm, had opened, and I saw that it was a kind of fissure that had a depth of only half a meter. I set about to ignite the branches again when I felt a thunder. The trees trembled, and I turned to speak to Paula. And it was then I saw how in the hole the ground swelled and raised itself 2 or 2.5 meters high, and a kind of small or fine dust, gray like ashes, began to rise up in a portion of the crack that I had not previously seen. Immediately, more smoke began to rise with a hiss or whistle, loud and continuous, and there was a smell of sulfur. When night began to fall, we heard noises like the surge of the sea, and red flames of fire rose into the darkened sky, some rising 800 meters or more into the air that burst like golden marigolds, and a rain like fireworks fell to the ground.
even though Paricutin was erupting during one of the biggest wars in history, that being World War II, the event still captured global attention, attracting reporters from major outlets. In the later stages of the eruption, airline pilots would even point out the volcano to passengers during flights. The area around the volcano also became a Hollywood filming location. The movie Captain from Castile was shot there, using the erupting volcano as a dramatic backdrop and featuring local residents.
That is fucking crazy. So, in this movie, that is actually the fucking erupting volcano in the background. That is wild. What a bunch of crazy motherfuckers. Yeah, they're like, yo, we gotta have a volcano in the movie. We're not gonna make one. We're just gonna use the real one. That's fucking insane.
Erupting volcano as a dramatic backdrop and featuring local residents as extras. Additionally, parts of the Western film Garden of Evil were filmed at the ruins of the church in San Juan Parangaricutiro, as well as in the nearby village of Guanajuato. The eruptions came to an end in 1952, leaving behind a scoria cone that rose 424 meters from the valley floor. It caused widespread destruction, obliterating.
Look at how big that is. That is crazy. Hold on, let's go back.
It caused.
Look at that. Are those people? I'm pretty sure those are people right there. That's insane. This was just a valley floor. And then in less than a few months, this was here. And this was just shooting out lava. Hopefully they show us some pictures. If they don't, I got some pictures that we can pull up that are of the forest after the fact and the town that was there. And it is eerily beautiful, but that is pretty incredible. I mean, that is definitely the size of it, plus how quickly it formed, and then how long it was active. It was active for years, shooting lava. That does make it a wonder of the world, right? That makes it pretty incredible.
Widespread destruction, obliterating vegetation within several kilometers of the crater. The town of Paricutin, once home to 733 people, was completely wiped out, while the only remaining parts of San Juan.
That's pretty sad. That's a bummer. That really sucks for them, right? You just one day, boom, volcanoes there. Well, you're going somewhere else. You're moving.
Parangaricutiro, which had a population of 1,895, are the remnants of its main church.
This is the main church nowadays. This is what it looks like now. It's all, was abandoned, obviously. This is what's left of it. And all this is just volcanic rock now with vegetation growing on it. But this was all lava that flowed past this church that was in that Paricutin. Or no, this wasn't Paricutin, excuse me. That was the other city that was nearby. I think Paricutin is just completely gone. But you can see how this lava just stretches for miles. That's so crazy. That's fucking mindfuck, dude.
Church, now surrounded by hardened lava. In addition to these two destroyed towns, Zacan, Angawan, and Zirosto were also heavily affected. Before leaving his home for the last time, Dionisio placed a sign on his cornfield that read,
This volcano is owned and operated by Dionisio Pulido.
For the farmers
This volcano is owned and operated by. I love it, dude. He's like, I don't give a fuck if it's a volcano or a cornfield. It's mine, bitches.
livelihoods depended on the fertile volcanic soil of Michoacán. The loss of agricultural land was devastating. Many people had to find new ways to make a living. Some shifted to different types of farming in areas where the soil was still viable, while others struggled to adapt to a new economic reality. Despite these challenges, they slowly rebuilt their lives. Over time, a new generation grew up with a strong sense of identity rooted in their shared history. They could not return to their former homes, but the residents preserved the memory of their lost villages and maintained cultural traditions. Although it took years, the region around Paricutin eventually began to recover. As the volcanic material weathered and decomposed, it enriched the soil with essential minerals, creating an environment conducive to plant growth. It was colonized by hardy plants such as lichens and mosses, which were the first to grow in the nutrient-rich soil. Over time, larger plants and trees followed, and the forests that had been lost to the eruption slowly began to regenerate. New species of flora and fauna started to emerge in the area, helping to restore the ecological balance. The landscape around Paricutin became a focus of conservation efforts as local authorities recognized the unique geological and ecological significance of the region and efforts.
that is another cool point to make too, is that whole region is kind of a natural wonder because it's a one and only, man. Like they said, new types of plant life are growing there now on all this volcanic rock. You can even see in the background this giant thing of, lava rock right there. That's so fucking crazy, man. That's mind blowing. This is definitely one of my top mind blowing natural wonders, right? The freaking volcano.
Efforts were made to protect the regenerating forests and volcanic features. Today, Paricutin and the surrounding area are part of Michoacan's natural heritage, offering both a reminder of the destructive power of nature and its ability to heal. Tourism provided a new economic opportunity for the region as well. The influx of visitors created jobs and boosted the local economy, helping the community recover financially. Local guides began offering tours of the volcano, and the region became known not just for its tragic past, but for its natural beauty and scientific significance. Visitors from around the world come to hike the volcanic cone, explore the rugged lava fields, and experience the dramatic landscapes left behind by the eruption. The volcano itself was designated one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. The Church of San Juan, or what remains of it.
Look at that. That is eerily beautiful. I mean, that looked like a very beautiful church, just surrounded by all that lava rock. That's crazy.
Also draws both foreign and local tourists, with only the church's bell tower and part of its facade that survived, standing defiantly above the hardened volcanic rock. This hauntingly beautiful ruin somewhat became a site of pilgrimage for the descendants of those displaced by the eruption. In the end, life after the eruption is a story of renewal, where destruction gave way to regrowth and where communities, through adaptation and strength, found ways to carry on.
That's pretty cool. So that's the story of Paricutin, the volcano. That was Factoid Factory. That's a pretty dope channel. I'm going to subscribe to these guys. They did a good job. Small channel too, only 5,000 people following them. Pretty good job. Okay, so that's the volcano. Here's some more pictures of the church and the volcano itself. Maybe. There it is. Okay. Takes a minute to load for some reason, but yeah, that's very, very beautiful. Is there something going on? Okay, there isn't. Good. Look at that. That's so massive. I don't know what this is over here. Let's look at this, see if we can get a bigger image. Yeah, that is beautiful. I mean, that is cool. It's your classic volcano, right? You've seen a lot of volcanoes, Cutie5, being from Hawaii, but that's, to have one just pop up out of the ground, out of nowhere, and then just boom, just going off for I forgot what they said. Was it several months that it was bellowing lava out? Enough lava that it just, stretched for miles around this church, took out the nearby towns. Pretty incredible. And yeah, that church is definitely very eerily beautiful. There's a picture of it back in the day. There's the church. That's what it used to be. There's a volcano in the background. And that's what's left of it. Pretty wild. Another picture of it. It is very beautiful, though. Very pretty. I still think the other entries on the list are more beautiful, but the scientific impact that this has, that's one of a kind thing. It's definitely earned its spot on the list of natural wonders, right? So I don't know about going to visit that one. That would be cool to see. Probably don't have a lot of dope restaurants there, though. I'm just going to throw out on a limb. Okay, we're going to move to number 6, though, because my time for my stream's almost up, and my stomach is, like, growling at me, like, motherfucker, you need to eat. So we're going to move on to number 6, the Great Barrier Reef. So I've heard of Great Barrier Reef. I was aware that it was a thing, but I didn't know a lot about it, right? So this was fun to look into. This is pretty interesting stuff. Let BBC Select give us a few minutes, only a 3-minute long video, real short, but it's just gonna give us an introduction into the Barrier Reef. Then we're gonna read a little bit about it. Check it out.
Off the east coast of Australia, up to 200 kilometres offshore, a line of surf rises out of the open ocean. Beneath the surface, creating these breaking waves, is the most magical marine environment on Earth. It's one of the 7 recognized wonders of the natural world. The Great
Oh, they said 7 wonders of the natural world. Maybe that is a thing. See, BBC said it. I can't have fucked it up that bad if BBC did it. Either BBC's wrong, and in that case, I don't feel like much of a dumbass, or that's actually what it's called, or it could also be called that. Interesting. Well, there you go.
Barrier Reef.
See, I know what I'm talking about.
Stretching for over 2,000 kilometres up the tropical coast of Australia, it is quite simply the largest living structure on the planet. It's made up of almost 3,000 different reefs, each one with a different personality. And it's so much more than just coral. But the Great Barrier Reef is most famous for its underwater world. Here, there is more life than almost anywhere else on Earth. Many of the creatures are exquisitely beautiful, but some seem straight out of science fiction. While others can kill in an instant. Just when you think you know the reef, it changes. Every second, every hour, every day, and every year. It's a world of continual surprises. This is the amazing story of an ever-changing natural miracle, the Great Barrier Reef.
So that's a good intro to it, right? Some cool images there. I didn't realize that thing is that big. That's insane. 2,000 kilometers. That's pretty wild. Let's do a little reading on it. Good old Britannica always got the facts. So the Great Barrier Reef. It's a complex of coral reefs, shoals, and islets in the Pacific Ocean off the northeastern coast of Australia that is the longest and largest reef complex in the world. The Great Barrier Reef extends in roughly a northwest-southwest direction for more than 1,250 miles to 2,000 kilometers, at an offshore distance ranging from 10 to 100 miles. That's massive. That's so big. Here's a look at it. This whole thing right here is a Great Barrier Reef. That's pretty incredible. And just some of those initial images we saw were so beautiful. It was like, wow. I mean, that underwater, that is pretty incredible. I'm not a snorkeler. I'm not a shark fan. I don't do sharks. I don't do places where sharks live. All right. But I would absolutely go to that and see that. That's incredible. That would be worth learning how to snorkel just to go or learn how to dive just to go see this Great Barrier Reef because it's pretty incredible. So it has an area of some 135,000 square miles. Oh, let's pop you back over here. Okay. Hello again. So, and it has been characterized somewhat inaccurately as the largest structure ever built by living creatures. Okay, somewhat inaccurately doesn't explain that, but whatever. I guess they don't have to explain everything. Geography. The reef actually consists of some 2,100 individual reefs and some 800 fringing reefs formed around islands or bordering coastlines. Geesh, air went down the wrong hole, I guess. So many are dry or barely awash at low tide. Some have islands of coral, sand, or cays, and others fringe high islands or the mainland coast. In spite of this variety, the reefs share a common origin. Each has been formed over millions of years from the skeletons and skeletal waste of mass of living marine organisms. The bricks in the reef framework are formed by the calcareous remains of the tiny creatures known as coral polyps and hydrocorals, while the cement that binds these remains together is formed in large part by coralline algae and bryozoans. The intersects of this framework have been filled in by vast quantities of skeletal waste produced by the pounding of the waves and the depredations of boring organisms. Okay, I think they mean a different kind of boring, but So, European exploration of the reef began in 1770 when the British explorer Captain James Cook ran his ship aground on it. The work of charting tunnels and passages through the maze of reefs began by Cook continued during the 19th century. The Great Barrier Reef Expedition of 1928 to 29 contributed important knowledge about coral physiology and the ecology of coral reefs. Yeah, I'm sure this is like a scientist, marine biologist wet dream, right? All the different animals they have there. We're going to read a little bit about that here in a minute. A modern laboratory on Heron Island continues scientific investigations, and several studies have been undertaken in other areas. The reef has risen on the shallow shelf fringing the Australian continent, in warm waters that have enabled the corals to flourish. Borings have established that reefs were growing on the continental shelf as early as the Miocene epoch, 23 million to 5.3 million years ago. So like the Grand Canyon, this thing has been getting made. You know, the Paracutin volcano was pretty incredible because it was like a week and boom, it was suddenly there. But the Grand Canyon and the Great Barrier Reef is like the underwater equivalent to it, kind of, where it took millions of years for this thing to form, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. Subsidence of the continual shelf has proceeded with some reversal since the early Miocene. The water environment of the Great Barrier Reef is formed by the surface water layer of the southwestern Pacific Ocean. The reef waters show little seasonal variation. Surface water temperature is high, ranging from 70 to 100 degrees. The waters are generally crystal clear with some marine features clearly visible at depths of even 100,000 feet. Wow, that's incredible. So here's some cool stuff. This is, that in itself is amazing and wild and really fucking cool, and it puts it on the list by itself. But then you start talking about the wildlife in there, and it's a whole nother ball of wax, man. It's a whole nother reason why it deserves to be on this list. So, the forms of life include at least 450 species of hard coral, as well as anemones, I can never say this fucking word, sponges, worms, gastropods, lobsters, crayfish, prawns, and crabs. More than 1,500 species of fishes and other vertebrates inhabit the reef. Some of the most common include wrasses, damselfish, triggerfish, and angelfish, and larger species include rays, sharks, tiger sharks, and whale sharks. The reef is also home to 6 of the 7 known species of sea turtles, more than a dozen sea snakes, and nearly 24 species of birds. The most destructive reef animal is the crown of thorns starfish, one of the more famous ones too, which has reduced the color and attraction of many of the central reefs by eating much of the living coral. Encrusting red algae form the fortifying purplish-red algae rim that is one of the Great Barrier Reef's most characteristic features, while the green algae flourishes almost everywhere. Above the surface, the plant life of the cays is very restricted, consisting of only some 30 to 40 species. Some varieties of mangroves occur in the northern cays. In addition to its scientific interest, the reef has become increasingly important as a tourist attraction. Growing concern over the preservation of its natural heritage has led to increased controls on such potentially threatening activities as drilling for petroleum resources. The extensive use of tourist craft and the sustainability of commercial fishing were controversial matters in the late 20th and early 21st century. Sure, that would absolutely be the case. But so there you have it. Some good, interesting facts about the Great Barrier Reef. Let's talk about the aminals, right? What about the fucking animals? They have something, tons of animals. We'd have, 15 different streams to cover all the different animals that exist there, right? But they have a thing called the Great 8 Animals of the Barrier Reef. So what are those Great 8 animals? One is the giant clam. A beautiful sight to behold, the giant clam enjoys the warm water surrounding the Great Barrier Reef. It is the largest living bivalve mollusk, weighing up to 200 kilograms with an average lifespan of 100 years. That's pretty crazy. I thought I could actually click on this. Last night I was trying to scroll on it and it kept clicking on it, but maybe not today. It's like, nope, we're not going to give it to you today. So giant clams, manta rays. Unlike the stingray, these gentle giants don't have a barb. The largely solitary manta ray is known to travel large distances, scouring the ocean for food, such as plankton and fish larvae. I didn't know fish had larvae. Okay. The Maori race. Maori race. That's a Maori race. The largest member of the family Lebridae, this race can reach up to 6 feet long. Oh, wow. Its unusual appearance includes thick, fleshy lips and a protruding lump above its eyes. It's renowned for its passive and friendly personality. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Wow, and that is a beautiful fish. Look at those designs on there. I mean, it's a goofy looking fucker, but it's very, very pretty. That is incredible. Sharks. Of course, you have to have your fucking sharks in there. A huge variety of sharks call the Great Barrier Reef home, ranging from small bottom-dwelling varieties like wobbegongs to tiger sharks, hammerheads, and even the enormous whale shark. If you're diving the reef, you're most likely to see the black tip, white tip, and gray reef sharks. We got a whale shark right there. Those are pretty incredible. And clownfish, right? Clownfish form an incredible symbiotic relationship with the sea anemones they live in. Clownfish use their bright colors to lure passing fish in the anemone, which stings and eats the fish and then shares the scraps with the clownfish. These iconic fish are all born male but can change gender and become female. Turtles. The oldest known sea turtle fossil is at least 120 million years old, making sea turtles some of the oldest creatures on the planet. That means they shared the planet with dinosaurs, which became extinct around 65 million years ago. I didn't know that. Another win for the turtles. And there's a little baby turtle. They're so fucking cute. Despite this incredible longevity, only around 1 in every 1,000 hatchlings make it to adulthood. That's pretty sad. They are kind of like the smorgasbord of the ocean. Everything eats the little baby turtles, which really suck because they're fucking awesome. Turtles rock. And the potato cod. Look at this fucking guy. Looks kind of grumpy. The potato cod is probably because of his name, right? He's a little pissed about that. Potato cod is a native Australian fish and belongs to the grouper family. Groupers are among the largest of all bony fish and boast equally big mouths. The potato cod usually weighs in at less than 100 kilograms, but its cousin, the Queensland grouper or giant grouper, is the largest bony fish found on the Great Barrier Reef, known to grow to more than 2 meters long and weigh up to 400 kilograms. Looks like a big boy. And then whales. They even got whales there. During Australia's winter and spring, from June to November, up to 10,000 whales migrate north from Antarctica's colder waters to the warm, shallow waters of the Great Barrier Reef to breed and give birth. Though many species make this migration, humpback whales and dwarf minke whales are the ones you're most likely to see on the reef. That's pretty cool, and I believe that's a humpback whale, yeah? That's pretty amazing. So, really cool, man. They got whales, they got fucking potato cods, cute little baby sea turtles, clownfish. You can't go wrong with a clownfish. Shark whale, or sharks, whale sharks. This goofy, handsome little fella. Manta rays, and then giant clams. It's fucking awesome. Like, that is the coolest aspect of it. This is another one. Yeah, well, I was going to say, I'm sure this probably reminds you of Hawaii, seeing that video and all the beautiful fish and then the beautiful beaches and all that. Like, this is a place I would want to go to in a heartbeat. This would be on my bucket list. Out of all of the 6 of the 7 natural wonders we've looked at, the one that I really want to visit the most is the Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef, then the harbor of Rio de Janeiro, and then, you know, probably the Aurora Borealis, and then the Grand Canyon, volcano, and then last on my list would be Mount Everest. I wouldn't really care too much about that. When he would... Oh, no way, really? That's fucking awesome. Fucking... That would be pretty incredible. I mean, I'm not a big ocean guy, but whales are pretty amazing. And that would be really cool to see, too. I can only imagine how awesome that would be. Yeah, I imagine you would have a fun time going there, too, cutie. This is definitely a place that we need to consider going to and checking out, because that's on my bucket list. If I can only choose one place to visit in all of these 7 wonders, it would be the Great Barrier Reef. That would be so cool. And I would absolutely learn how to scuba dive and go into the ocean, even with the fucking sharks, for that. I would totally do it. It would be worth it just to see that. Go pet me a little baby sea turtle. Capture me one of them. We can bring that home to join our little baby deer that we're going to have. Okay, so we are going to move on to the next one, though. The very last one that I didn't know was a thing or even existed. Victoria Falls in Zambia. Okay, so Victoria Falls makes up number 7 of the 7 natural wonders. So this is Victoria Falls, and it is very beautiful. That's not helpful whatsoever. There we go. Pretty incredible. You can see the cars, how big that is, that road that bridge over the top of it. That's pretty incredible. That is very, very beautiful. So I totally get it. Okay. This is the Zambia tourism website where it gives you a little rundown of what is available at Victoria Falls. They got a whole tourist camp there. Zambia, by the way, I believe is in Africa, isn't it? Victoria Falls is between Zambia and Zimbabwe. It was described by the Kololo tribe living in the area as, I don't know how to pronounce that, the smoke that thunders is what it translates to, for the immense spray and incredible noise caused by the rushing waters. Victoria Falls is now also known as the greatest curtain of falling water in the world when its width and height are combined. So that's pretty incredible. Very beautiful. And yeah, they got a whole tourism thing here, when to visit, useful facts, history of it, and then activities there. They got a little lodge here, so that's nice, yeah. So yeah, it's in Africa. I did pull up this is how it was formed, and I'm probably not going to go over this. I'll allow you guys. I'll put this in the description, and y'all can take a gander at it on your own time. But I'm trying to figure out where exactly it is in Africa. So in this area right here, or this area right here, I actually don't know how to read this fucking map. I don't know why I'm pretending like I do. Hold on, let's click this. And, here we go. Here we go. That's unhelpful. Teeny tiny little baby image. I'm going to have to look it up. We're going to have to do some sleuthing. Okay. Map of Africa with countries. Okay, maps. Look here. Zambia and Zimbabwe. Okay, so right around in this area. Mozambique. It's where they got them giant spiders. So Zimbabwe, Zambia. So it looks like it's right in this area, yeah? I'm assuming. Zumbo. Good old Zumbo. Zambeza. Flats. I'm just kind of looking for Victoria Falls. See if it's labeled. I just type in Victoria Falls, yeah. There it is. I would have never gotten that. Devil's Pool, Victoria Falls National Park. Okay. Right next to Zambezi National Park. So let's go out a little bit more. Okay, so that's in the southern part of Africa, not South Africa. That's its own country, but it's right in the middle of the, what is that, Southern Horn, I think they call that, of Africa. Yeah. All right. Cool. Interesting. I don't know what's going on in that part of the world, or how safe it is to visit, but that is pretty cool. So this, like I said, here you go. Victoria Falls Resorts, Hotels, and Safari Lodges. I mean, that looks pretty legit. They are advertisements, so it's kind of like, well, but damn, like, These places look pretty dope. That might be fun to go visit. You do a little research into it and see what that's like. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, very beautiful. If you look at it, pretty incredible pictures. We're actually going to watch a short video on it so we can actually get an idea. I think this just gives you a good view of what it looks like. But believe it or not, yeah, it actually looks like in that area of the world, there's a lot of hotels, a lot of lodges, resorts. You got a Elephant Hills Golf Resort for all you golfers. Ooh, look at this place. Palm River Hotel. Interesting. This would be kind of fun to go to. This would be cool. Look at this. You got fucking giraffes at Stanley and Livingston Boutique Hotel. There's just that dude just chilling there watching the giraffes walk by. That's fucking sick as fuck. That's cool. That would be a blast. Huh. Elephant Camp. The Victoria Falls Hotel. You can see in this picture the mist of Victoria Falls in the back. Look at that. That's pretty incredible. Wow. That would be cool to see. That I would put on my fucking to-do list for sure. Man, that's gorgeous. Okay, yeah, let's check out the actual Victoria Falls, though. Here's a 3-minute video. I don't know if this video gives us any information. I haven't watched it yet. By Tom Varley. Another small channel. Give this video a good like. And let's see what he's got to say about Victoria Falls. Here, let me throw you over to the YouTube screen. All right. Listen to Tom here. Yeah, that is a hell of a waterfall. It is very beautiful. If they keep showing us this same angle, though, I've seen those same 4 trees every single camera. Like, give us another angle of it, bro. There we go. Wow. That's so huge. There's those 4 trees again. That does look like smoke. What did the tribe call it? The smoke that thunders? Yeah, that's beautiful. I can see why that's on there. Can definitely see why that's one of the 7 natural wonders. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So 17 808 meters wide, largest curtain of water in the world. So 2 cities are part of Victoria Falls. At the eastern end of it, Victoria Falls town in Zimbabwe lies on the southern bank of the Zambezi River, and at 18 kilometers south of town, Victoria Falls Airport has international services to Johannesburg and Namibia. The second city, Livingstone, in Zambia, is a historic colony city and tourist center for Victoria Falls, lying 10 kilometers south of the Zambezi River. Its airport has connections to Johannesburg and Lusaka. All right. Both parks have a whole bunch of wildlife, I'm sure. Populations of elephant, buffalo, giraffe, zebra, vervet monkeys, baboons, and a variety of antelope, lion, and leopard. The river above the falls contains large populations of hippos and crocodiles. Kelp springers and clawless otters can be glimpsed in gorges, but they are mainly known for 35 species of raptors. The Tayade falcon, black eagle, peregrine falcon, and Argor buzzard breed there. Wow, man, it keeps going. They have, as far as activities go on the falls, they have the Flight of Angels, providing a superb vista of the falls, the upstream river, and its many islands. For more adventures, the microlighting with stunning views of Victoria Falls. Rafting is the most popular adventure. Visitors can also kayak, canoe, go on guided walking safaris, ride on horseback, and lunch on Livingstone's Island. Wow, they got a lot of cool shit to do there. The Devil's Swimming Pool is a famous feature naturally formed near the edge of the falls, accessed via Livingstone Island. People can swim as close as possible to the edge of the falls without continuing over the edge and falling into the gorge due to a natural rock wall that stops their progress despite the current. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Oh, I guess we could have just looked at this map right here, yeah. So there's Victoria Falls, the town, and there's Victoria Falls Falls. Man, that would be cool to go visit. That would be very beautiful to visit. And yeah, I can totally see why that's on a natural wonder. I mean, that is a massive, beautiful waterfall. Again, you know, that other article that we had that I had pulled up that will be linked in the description was a rundown of how long it took to form this fucking thing, which again, we're talking millions of years, right? So another reason, same like the Great Barrier Reef and the Grand Canyon, it is on that list of the natural wonders because of just how long it took the world to create it, right? A naturally occurring thing that's beautiful and took a very long time to make. And a testament to just how fucking cool the world around us is, right? But that does it for us today for this episode of Wildlife Wednesdays, the 7 natural wonders of the world, or like me and the BBC prefer to call it, the 7 wonders of the natural world. So, to anybody who watched live, I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you, Cutie Pie, as always, for sticking around and hanging out and chatting. If you watch this video on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed it and found something useful and entertaining about the content. If so, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you like this kind of wildlife-orientated content, I won't be making much more of it. We only got 2 more weeks left of Wildlife Wednesdays, but tune in next Wednesday for what do we got next Wednesday? It is Tornado Alley. Oh, I am excited about that one. Yeah, I'm going over Tornado Alley here in the United States and what exactly that thing is. And then, but tomorrow will be Conspiracy Theory Thursday. So I'll be streaming live again at 11 a.m. Actually, 11 a.m. tomorrow, hopefully. And we're going to be going over the adrenochrome conspiracy. So I'm kind of stoked for that one. This is going to be my most controversial conspiracy theory episode thus far, because researching into this very clearly, there's a lot of people that don't like talking about it. So we're going to talk about it, and we're going to have some fun talking about it. I'm going to give you all the information that I was able to find on adrenochrome conspiracies, and we'll be doing that tomorrow at 11 a.m. So look for the video of this of today's stream in my Wildlife Wednesdays playlist, and be sure to go check out my other Wildlife Wednesdays playlists. And in the meantime, you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks for coming around. Peace.